Hi, my name is Macy Svitansky. This is my SAFMEDS deck for SPCE 682, Section 812 with Dr. Wark. And today is October 6th, 2024. So, I'm going to shuffle my deck. 1, 2, 3 times. I'm going to split the deck like that. Here's my 1-minute timer. And start. The practice of self-reflection and learning from others to honor their beliefs, customs, and values while addressing any personal biases. This is cultural humility. Includes a determination of whether the resources and supports that are required for the intervention to be implemented are present in the situation. This is feasibility. When a client is no longer demonstrating measurable progress and an observed skill, this is plateau. Small group activities with a defined area, activity, theme, and roles, incorporating typically developing peers and adult scaffolding as needed to support the learner. This is structured play groups. Reinforcement is delivered for a functionally equivalent communicative response while placing less desirable behavior on extinction. This is functional communication training. Objects, pictures, or symbols that are used to provide information about the activity, expectation, or routine. This may be paired with in the use of vocal cues. This is, there's my timer. This is visual supports. And I'm going to keep going. The extent to which alternative explanations for changes observed in the dependent variable are ruled out. This is methodological rigor. An imitation training procedure which capitalizes on delayed imitation to evoke the imitative response in the presence of the SD. This is video modeling. Group contingency implemented in classroom settings designed in the 1960s. Teams of students compete against each other to win rewards. This is the good behavior game. When the client does not possess the skill to perform the expected response, this is a skill deficit. Behavior analysts select and design behavioral change interventions that are anchored in behavioral and scientific principles, are culturally responsive, and implement assessments that minimize benefits and risk of harm. This is selecting, designing, and implementing assessments. Involves the process of self-monitoring through which one reactively changes one's own behavior. This is self-management. An individualized instructional strategy that focuses on building fluency, charting acceleration, and reinforcement. Pass. This isn't teaching. An overcorrection procedure in which the individual repeatedly practices a positive alternative behavior used when there is no environmental disruptions. Positive practice overcorrection. Involves an individual learning to respond to stimuli which are similar to one another. This is generalization. Individuals with ongoing indirect contact with the target client. These are stakeholder clients. And early play milestones that include simple play acts to play with toys as intended, such as puzzles and cars. This is functional play. Behavior analysts establish and assign a service agreement that is regularly reviewed with clients and relevant stakeholders, clearly defining their responsibilities, the scope of services, adherence to professional standards, and procedures for addressing complaints. This is the service agreement. Extent to which a treatment is fair, reasonable, appropriate, unintrusive, and likely to be recommended to others. Treatment acceptability. Reinforcement strategy where students earn tokens to access a reinforcer but does not know when or what that will be. Mystery motivator. Involve instruction of a single exemplar or program within 0 to 8 seconds between trials, mass trials. Behavior analysts implement behavioral change interventions that are anchored in behavioral and scientific principles, use assessment results and positive reinforcement, and are culturally responsive. Pass. Involve instruction of acquisition tasks interspersed with master trials with typically short interval trials. Pass. Task interspersal. A discriminative stimulus that sets the occasion for a desired response. This is a prompt. Embrace the participants' values, expectations, traditions, ideas. This is cultural humility. Cultural match. Teaches learners to engage in conversation by talking about things that are not present and not being requested. Fill-ins are often used, but transfer procedures may better promote generalization. This is interverbal training. An intervention strategy in which peers are trained, supervised, and monitored to implement interventions. This is peer-mediated interventions. Similar to behavioral cusp, a behavior that as learners produce change in other adaptive, untrained behavior. This is pivotal behavior. Quantitative marker to judge if the individual learned a specific behavior. This is mastery criteria. Skills required to have in repertoire prior to teaching novel skills. This is prerequisite skills. A procedural form of extinction that involves simply ignoring behavior. This would only be effective if eliminating the behavior if the behavior is maintained by attention. This is planned ignoring. Specifying a performance quality and or level to be attained, often by a particular time. Pass. A child playing next to another child and engaged in a similar activity without direct social overtures. Parallel play. Make the instructional and natural setting as similar as possible. Pass. Prompt hierarchy, in which the first prompt is the most intrusive level of prompt needed to ensure correct response. Most to least prompting. Should be made with the stakeholder and should drive the process for treatment selection. The goal should prioritize client health and overall well-being, safety, and independence. Should be observable and measurable. Treatment goals? Perfect. Responses which have been reinforced in the past in the presence of specific Responses which have been reinforced in the past in the presence of specific antecedent stimuli are said to be under stimulus control. Stimulus generalization. Stimulus discrimination. Includes an analysis of the quantity, quality, and contingency of literature related to either the effectiveness of one treatment across populations or the effectiveness of any treatment for one given population. This is a systematic review. Contingent access to higher probability behavior reinforcers, lower probability behavior. This is pre-met principle. Varying non-critical aspects of instruction. Pass. Train loosely. Structured method utilized to identify highly preferred items or actions that can be used as reinforcers to keep motivation levels high. This is a preference assessment. Involves stimulus presentation by instructor, learner response, consequence and interval between trials. This is discrete trial training. Set of evidence-based strategies used to increase quality of life and decrease challenging behaviors by teaching new skills and making changes to a person's environment. Positive behavior support. Beautiful. Demonstration of appropriate responses or behaviors, typically demonstrating the skill the individual should perform. Modeling. A hybrid of the systematic and narrative reviews. Experts often offer suggestions when insufficient evidence is available. The primary limitation of this source includes the need for practitioners to maintain an awareness of which recommendations are based on the literature versus expert opinion. Pass. Practice guidelines. Shared attention, an important skill for younger children to master that serves as a prerequisite for many social skills. This is joint attention. Exists when the client is able to perform the skill but chooses not to due not to do so due to insufficient contact with reinforcers in the environment. This is a performance deficit. Teaching strategy that eliminates or minimizes responding to incorrect choices. This is errorless learning. Play in which children are able to use objects to represent other things. This is symbolic play. A procedure in which access to reinforcement is removed or reduced contingent on unwanted behavior with the goal of reducing the rate of the response. Pass. Time out. A prompt hierarchy in which the first level is independent. This is least to most prompting. Process by which a person takes control over their own life. This is self-determination. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. This is empathy. When a behavior continues to happen even after training has stopped. This is maintenance. The systematic and gradual fading of intrusive prompts, discriminative stimuli, or cues designed to shift control to the stimuli designed to evoke the response. This is fading. When behavior happens in the presence of new stimuli or settings. Pass. Stimulus generalization. Behavior analysts use language that others can comprehend to explain their services and how they will be implemented, communicating about services. Requires a verbal SD, which is followed by nonverbal response, listener responding. Can be implemented by capturing or contriving establishing operands and presenting prompts as needed. This is man training. And an observational system in which the observer counts the number of individuals engaged in a behavior during a particular interval of time. This is planned activity check.